Hello, everyone. Happy Independence Day to each one of you on this wonderful 78th Independence Day. We are happy to connect back as book lovers, as people who are thinkers, to see and understand what freedom is in one way or the other, because it relates to one book that I'm talking. I would say freedom in a different sense, because the book talks about how we have to understand information technology and how we have to process a lot of things that are coming our way as information and empower ourselves. So one way, it is definitely connected to our own way of freeing our minds from a lot of clutter that we are thrown. That way, I welcome you all again. And it's 7 o'clock. And allow me to maximize the screen so that I can start my review. Yeah. So am I audible? I mean, visible and audible? Yes. Okay. So here I am. This is the book by Newport. This is Digital Minimalism. Can everybody see here? I think it's, yeah. So he has penned this book in 2017 and he published it in 2019. Newport is a professor of computer science. He did his studies from MIT, and he's a very deeply well-read and well-informed person in the subject that he talks about, which is computers and the related technologies. More interestingly, Digital Minimalism is a book that he has penned after an interesting thought process that must have gone. He has earlier published a book called Deep Work. He has, to his credit, quite a few books like So Good They Can't Ignore You, Slow Productivity, A World Without Email, etc. So after Deep Work, there have been some ideas coming back to him by the readers, and there was a need to improvise. I would not say improvise, but there was a need for him to think, how do I structure my work once again in a more, because this subject was very high in demand, about how technology has to be understood, how technology has to be carefully nudged. I would use the word nudged in a very conscious way, because technology is encroaching into most of our lives without our knowledge, and it just doesn't happen. He in fact very clearly indicates wonderful places, wonderful dialogues and cases. He presents many technological companies or corporations examples where actually what happens or happened in the boardrooms and meetings of these very big technological companies like Google, then Facebook, then Insta, then of course Elon Musk has recently acquired the Twitter, now X. So all these very big companies we are talking about, they have very clear-cut plans for a business model. And this business model he says is about attention economy. It falls under the attention economy. If we want to understand what attention economy is something like this. At one point of time, there were people who were trying to, initially when companies would come, they would see a product, and then they would first of all design a product, and then they would design a customer. They would target a customer, sell the product to this customer. Eventually, what happened is, in the course of time, very, very interestingly, we happen to be the products. We are not the customers. I'm saying this again. We happen to be the products as individuals, and their customers happen to be the advertising companies. If you look at it, Initially, when just take an example of when Facebook started, the number of ad revenues that they were getting was about 8% or something. And after that, they, in a span of 1.5 years, they increased the ad revenues so high by increasing the customer base that they have gone beyond 60 to 80%, 60 to 70%, almost to 80%. So if you're looking at this kind of business model where we are no more the customers, but we are kind of catalysts for them to get money. And I'm talking about we, what does that mean? It is not you as a person. You don't have to stay. You don't have to give your things. What is it that you're giving to them? So it is your time. It is your time and attention span. More specifically, it is your attention span to the companies. Like you go there and you start Facebook. Initially, when Facebook said they started because they wanted you to connect to your old friends. They wanted you to have a better relationship within your friends and all those things. But eventually, what happened? You ended up spending lot many hours on Facebook, lot many hours on all these alternate applications, so alternate social media platforms. What could be the reason behind it? If we look at it, there are two reasons, very very strong reasons. One is our own vulnerabilities about how other people are, and to understand how what they are doing, and to see what is going on in others lives. And perhaps it's some kind of an answer for us to balm our own insecurities somewhere, and our own version of worry about what is that I'm missing from others' life, that I can check and see something, which is not a very good news, honestly. But we didn't sign up for that. What were we supposed to sign it up for? We were supposed to sign it up just for friends, connecting with some people, etc., and all that. But that didn't happen. A lot more has happened, which is not beyond, which is beyond our control for sure. Another strong reason is that these companies are engineered. So there is something called attention engineering, where every click of yours, every the time limit of how long you stay, how what all places you are interacting, who all you're interacting with, etc., everything, every moment of yours is noted. It's information to them, and this information is not used for you. In fact, it is used for their profit. How it is used for their profit is they understand your behavioral patterns. Accordingly, they will have they will have designed their platform in such a way that you are kept gripping. You are kept gripped rather in a long, very long, for a very long hours. And if I am able to hold a person who has decided to come here for 10 minutes or 30 minutes until 3 hours, then I am successful today. So who is losing at the end of the day? Who is losing? And where are we having this slack? It is not just Facebook. Facebook is one of them. But other than Facebook, there are so many other social media apps that we have on smartphones. And needless to say, he says smartphones are one area where it is not easy for you to come out of it just like that. They are designed in such a way. If you remember when iPod was used long back in before 2010s, and later when Steve Jobs has introduced iPhone as a device that will help you just not listen to music, but also make calls. Did it end there? I don't think so. After that, the whole world has started falling into that particular small, metal rectangular metal piece that we carry. That we are almost. It has become inseparable from us. We just cannot think of a day where we can just walk out of the house without a phone. So what is it that, again, psychologically, which is prompting to all these things? It is a conditioning that has happened. If phone is not there, we may be in danger. We may have some kind of a problem that we cannot communicate to others. So many other tensions. Earlier, this was not there. We did have a very wonderful life without a phone. We used to go outside by checking what maps are or trying to find out at least a physical map by asking them to draw. And then we would go without Google Maps. Yeah, sure. There are people who argue. In fact, he talks about all these things. There are people who argue that, without technology, it was those days. But then now that we have it, why not we use it? Or second thing is, what if we miss something else? So for that also, he has very suitable explanations given. His book is divided into part A and part B, two parts. And the first part talks about, it is 3 chapters, and the second part is about 4 chapters. First part, he more or less talks about what digital minimalism is. He consciously avoids the word digital detox. He doesn't like to use it. Even in one of his interviews, I have seen that he specifically mentioned that the detox is not a very good word for me to use. I don't find it very appealing. So he says digital declutter. He talks about it in his first chapter, first part, where he has given a lopsided arms race, digital minimalism, and digital declutter are the 3 chapters. If we look at lopsided arms race, he talks about, basically, see, what he's trying to give through this book is the fundamental concept. He's trying to, like, one of my other member earlier was talking about this concept. He is trying to conceptualize something which has come here, but with enough data which has been published through books, enough data that has been published through review papers and other professors. So in that process, I shall just take a few lines that I really like. So this is one paragraph I would love to read for you. So tobacco farmers in t-shirts. So what he says is, the tycoons of social media have to stop pretending that they're friendly nerd gods building a better world and admit they're just tobacco farmers in t-shirts selling an addictive product to children. Because let's face it, checking your likes is the new smoking. So this is how it is. He gives many more such descriptions where the concept of what we are going through and what kind of danger we are in is very slowly and very introduced in a very steadfast manner. So is Silicon Valley programming apps, or are they programming people? Then Philip Morris just wants your lungs. Philip Morris is the head honcho of Marlboro cigarette company. So basically, he sells cigarette and nicotine products. So Philip Morris just wants your lungs. App Store wants your soul. So if we look at all these kind of once again. So Adam Alter is another professor. He introduces, and this professor, basically, he is a PhD from Princeton in social psychology. So Adam Alter is a person who is established in psychology, and he studies behavior, human behavior, with related to, for example, his first doctoral dissertation. His doctoral dissertation is about how coincidental connection between you and another person can impact how you feel about each other. So when he has written a book, his first book is called Drunk Tank Pink, in which he actually experiments how a color can soothe a person's behavior. So there are certain people who are drunk and they are put in a Pepto-Bismol pink color, and then how that particular shade has actually made them behave more, has calmed them down rather. And the book also reveals how wearing a red shirt on a dating profile will lead to significantly more interest than any other color. I mean, imagine the kind of depth to which these people have done their work about studying behaviors and human psychology. So the reason why I mentioned, I thought it's important for me to mention about this psychologist is, there was this incident where he was traveling on plane, and then Dr. Adam Alter, he was traveling and he was continuously on playing a game. It's called 2048. So his flight has reached the destination. He has come down, and then still he realized that he's still playing the game. That's when he thought, there is some other important topic for me to do a research on. It's on our screens and why our attention is hooked to our screens for hours and hours together. So there must be something very significant behind it. So having said that, all these people, apart from that, so many other, researchers and so many other published evidences he gives about what addiction, as we all know, is a condition in which a person engages in use of a substance or in a behavior for which the rewarding effects provide a compelling incentive to repeatedly pursue the behavior despite detrimental consequences. So again, coming back in DSM-5, which is Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, in 2013, 5th edition, it is concluded for the first time behavioral addiction as a diagnosable problem. So the reason why all these things are given in his book is to make us understand that he's introducing this concept, saying that this is not a very small thing for us to take. All these are established facts, and that we must know that now the earlier there was substance abuse, and now how the psychology experts are categorizing addictive behavior with screen time and also other things as serious issues is what he wants to specify. So, yeah. So what he tries to say is, suddenly, for example, generally in addictive behaviors, somebody is a drunkard, they have something called withdrawal symptoms. So if you ask them to stop, if you try to put them into de-addiction camps and all those things, they have withdrawal symptoms and they're sometimes very aggressive and so many other things in those symptoms they appear. But here the symptoms may be, if for example, a person is very increasingly using Facebook or some social media app, suddenly he's asked or she's asked to stop it. They may not show such sudden variations in their behavior, but then it seems the results seem to have moderate effect. Moderate is what is written as moderate effect, which is also significant because any symptom which is making you compulsive, making you do something in a compulsive manner is not good, especially when it's affecting our work. So lopsided arms, see, if I get stuck to this one chapter, I may not justify a lot of other things. In fact, I would just run through certain other things. But before that, I should not forget to talk about two lines that he mentions. See, it's something like, why did he say this? A lopsided arms race is what I was trying to understand. So, as Socrates explained to Phaedrus in Plato's famous chariot metaphor, our soul can be understood as a chariot driver struggling to rein two horses, one representing our better nature and the other our baser impulses. When we increasingly cede autonomy to the digital.
Radhika,
yes,
excuse me.
Yeah.
ఇప్పుడు చెప్పినంత డిస్టర్బెన్స్ గా వచ్చింది, మధ్య మధ్య డిస్టర్బ్ అవుతుంది వాయిస్.
అవునా? Can somebody else confirm if my voice is better now? Can you please unmute yourself?
It's okay, ma'am. అంటే చిన్న అవుతుంది.
Should I continue?
ఒక్క రెండు చోట్ల కొంచెం
వచ్చిందా?
డ్రాగ్ అయింది, కొంచెం అనిపించింది, అమ్మగారు చెప్పినట్టుగా అయింది.
No, but I think
అదే రిస్టోర్ అయింది.
Then I'll continue. So when we increasingly cede autonomy to the digital, we energize the later horse and make the chariot driver struggle to steer. Ante what they're trying to say is a chariot is there and then there are two horses. One is the bad habits that we are having. One is the better side of us that talks about autonomy and control. So if these are bad habits are increasingly going high, and then we are giving our autonomy to someone else. Here he's mentioning in terms of the companies, the social media companies and the big larger organizations to which we give the autonomy. our chariot is going in a lopsided arm race. That is what he says. It's going in a unbalanced way. So solution, he talks about so many options, wherein he says, first of all, to accept the fact that this is all there. There is a whole lot of companies out there engineered to target your mind and your attention, and that is where they are winning. The more you are giving attention to them, the more they are winning. The more you get aware, they are at loss naturally, because you are controlling your behavior. Today, for example, I will use my phone only for 2 hours. Beyond that, I will make sure that any of the apps that are there, I will not use. If I put some cap to my usage, to that extent, those companies are at loss. And also, he compares these machines to the slot machines in gambling, wherein every time you want to press one knob, and then there are 3 things coming up, and the odds of getting equal number of designs or whatever is very, very, very low. And probability there is very low. They are designed like that. But if you look at if you look at what is this? There is one. He talks about one of the apps, which is Twitter. Earlier Twitter and ex-Twitter and X right now X. So that if you look at it, every time you refresh it with your thumb, that behavior itself is like that. It's like that slot machine thing where you are compelled to do every time to check if there is something new or something new, somebody has posted something new, etc. Also, the same thing he gives to likes. You start putting likes to something, it's the chances are that you'll end up checking it more often, because that's like a dopamine. And also he says, the number of likes or the number of comments that you get from somebody who is related to you or more directly connected to you through family or friend, very close family, you will end up having better happiness than somebody who's an outsider who does that. So like this, he talks about so many other things, but his overview is something that I cannot resist to, resist to keep to myself. I would like to speak about certain sentences that he used, which I really liked when I was looking at when I was hearing his interview. This is very simple. All he wants to say is you should have an autonomy of your life. See, digital minimalism is not just about a peripheral thing that you want to just talk here and leave. Basically, he is not trying to say that if you do this, this is what happens. If you do that, that is what happens. So what he says is changing your behavior to avoid negative consequence may not sustain. Instead, I'll also give an example. Behavior change to support something positive is more sustainable. For example, I would like to do a PhD program starting from this year to, let us say, another 4-5 years from now. I am not going to be engaged with many other things. Obviously, according to my goal, I have to design my life, and I have to make sure that I should put a cap to so many other things, not just my phone, also my contacts, also my visits to people, also my time with so many other, because there is only so much time in a day. And if I have to invest on the right kind of goal setting, I cannot afford all these things. What is happening here is, I'm just trying to give an example to what he says, is my behavior change is supporting something positive and which will be more sustainable. Rather than another thing versus if I'm changing a behavior just to say that I will not use this app for 10 days. And let me see how my behavior is, or let me see how my productivity is, which is not a very sacrosanct goal in itself. Like the goal is not very deep. And also it is talking about, if I don't do this, maybe I'll avoid some negative impact of this. That kind of a premise may not work, is what he says. And then you should also be ready to comfortably missing out on so many things in your life. Only if you are ready for that, then you should do it. In fact, he very interestingly talks about a 1600 people's experiment. Initially, he thought very few people will come, but 1600 people have signed up for an experiment he invited online. And a lot of people have done this with him by blocking so many apps. It was like a digital declutter. So after the experiment also, how the results have come and how some people could not sustain it, how some people sustained it, all these things is very clearly discussed. So he talks about a 30-day declutter. It's not a detox again, as he says, it's a declutter. So build a better life and build an intentional life is what he says. So people who have just thought, okay, let me do a 30-day declutter for the sake of it, who may not have deeper goals, could not sustain, and for so many other reasons. And also he gives examples of many people. Very simple example I'll give you. One of the fathers of children, two children, he would take his children to the park, but then he would not look at any of those children's faces when they would play, or when they would come back to him and show something very enthusiastically, because he was always engaged with his phone. So what difference has this made to him, he says, is that when actually the children have come back, they were receiving his emotions immediately, because the phone was not in his hands and he was not distracted actually to something else. So he feels more humanity-wise, he feels more happier and satisfied by not doing that particular activity at that point of time when his kids are around. It's not just about the kids, but also productivity of people has very substantially increased after this declutter. Like this, so many other examples are there. I would, I think, just go to one place where, okay, social connections, phone was actually servicing a psychological need for them. It was filling in the existential void they did not want to stare. They did not want to stare into. He's talking about Facebook. So through Facebook, through the phone, people used to look at others. Basically, they are confronting their existential void by looking into others' lives and all that. It could be regret, anxiety, unhappy, all these things. So the moment they get into blocking this, then initially it is not a good phase, but then eventually they realize that there is something in their own lives that they found out more valuable to do. So like this, yeah. So he talks about the examples, the case studies that he talks are phenomenal in the book. What I really liked about this book is that for me, I am a non-technical person. I don't have any idea about technology other than being a user, end user, as they say. Me being an end user, I still understood and tried to fathom the facts that he presented in the first few chapters to make us understand this as a philosophy. That's where he wanted to get it. First, try to understand this as a philosophy so that you imbibe it in your life. He himself is a graduate from MIT. So he knows what is going on inside there. And that is why he wants to caution people like us out here. So he says, use technology to help yourself intentionally, carefully, and have some exuberance. Focus on building the best possible life. If that is your intention, then definitely this book will come in handy for you, because it talks about how the companies are robbing our time, robbing our efforts towards otherwise had we put those efforts towards a more productive and more meaningful and valuable life. So having said that, I had a wonderful time reading this book, and this is just an overview about what I thought, but through the process, there were too many details with respect to researchers and so many other examples and all that. So that's where I found it a little tedious to, of course, not for a review, but even for me to remember, because I think the data that he got was quite a lot, and it's very substantial. So for people who want to know and have a reason about why they don't want to use technology or want to use technology for limited purposes, I think they should really get this book, because it is not about convincing somebody, but it is about making a conscious decision and to be aware about what we are doing. So that is what all this book is about. Thank you so much for your patient listening.